Hello. I think we're live. I may have messed it up. I don't know, but I think we're good. I'm learning every day, y'all. Just learning every day how to make this thing work. Well, welcome to the Coach's Corner. Freeze, I think you're the only one on right now. What's up, Freeze? How are you? Twitch is weird too. It's like people could be watching on Twitch, like they could be here right now, but we wouldn't know it. We wouldn't get any notification of it. So Twitch is weird like that sometimes. Today's going to be fun. We are going to be talking. We have some news for today, some exciting things that are upcoming. I'm going to lament a little bit just because I've had a rough day, so I'm going to lament a little bit. But the game we're playing today is Dark and Darker. That is the game we'll be playing, which I forgot to put in Discord. Just make sure everybody knows. Feel free to come hang out. Sweet. All right. It's been an interesting day, but one of the things that I'm talking right now in Discord about is using a controller. And I know there's a lot of people that are comfortable using controllers, which is fine until you try to compete. And then it becomes very unfine very fast. So this is why I usually say only if you are a controller player, one season is what you get playing on a controller. After that, you will need to learn keyboard mouse. Why is that? So, yeah, if you play in our program, I know a lot of people will be playing with controller. Great example of that is Fortnite. Fortnite is a great example where most people use controller. It's a lot. It's a big percentage of the players that you play Fortnite are controller players, and all the other games too. But when you're playing a game like Fortnite, the majority of the time you're playing against other console players, other people that are using a Nintendo Switch or a Xbox or whatever. When you're playing on computer, you're playing against other computer players. And when you do that, when you actually do that, it puts you at a significant disadvantage. It does. And here's the players are having a chat about it. Yeah. So yeah, if you so basically so they're saying what's so why are you so fearful of the mouse? It's it is a learning curve. It is a learning curve. I can visually show you why it's important though. I happen to have a controller. So part of this is to educate and teach, right? So I have a controller here, and a controller has two thumbsticks. One of the thumbsticks is responsible for movement, and one of them is for looking. However, a joystick is on an axis. Think of it like in geometry. Maybe I can. I'll do a visual of this. X and Y graph. So I'm going to just share my screen just for a quick second, but you've all seen this before. Like, you know what I'm talking about, like a graph. Okay. Well, a joystick can only move in that graph. It can only move X, Y. Like it can only go up and down, left and right. So when you think about moving in a space, you can only move forward, backwards, left, and right, just like that, right? Which is the same on the keyboard. So that we get rid of that. So movement is relatively the same. The aiming is where it really changes because When it comes to moving, so again, with these joysticks, you're moving left, right, up, down. It's you can do diagonal. You can do diagonal. It's fine. It works. It has to do more about when going from point A to point B and aiming, especially if that is over a long distance or it's not on a flat pane. Because again, if you're using a controller, the most likely tendency, and you'll see this when you people play with controller, you'll see them move in a flat, they'll be looking in a very flat pane. And this is just because of their controller. They're just using that X axis on the joystick that causes that. So when you're going up against someone with a mouse, they are able to go from X to Y in a much faster and in a more organic approach that is very easy. The other thing that's important about it is your hand. When you're using a mouse, you're using your entire hand, arm, and wrist, which gives you significantly more range of motion is what they would refer to that as, but you get significantly more range of motion. You can move much faster, and I think that's one of the biggest advantages is the ability to change. And I know you can obviously change your sensitivity on the controller, but it's much different on a controller when you're dealing with sensitivity changing because of the way that they work. And even if you edit the sensitivity on a controller, you're still going to be seeing people move in that flat pane. So there's that, right? So if you're using a controller on a shooting game in particular, Overwatch was the game that we're talking about. If you use a controller on Overwatch, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Some games have tried to reduce that disadvantage. Mainly Call of Duty would be an example I can give you. Call of Duty added some like aim assist features that most of the time, if you're playing a game with a controller, you're going to have aim assist. And what that is so let's just say I have a circle object right here, right? If I'm playing on a keyboard, if I'm playing on a mouse and keyboard, I got to hit right in the middle of that circle. If I'm using a controller and I have aim assist, I can hit anywhere on that black circle or the center and it counts. So one, it makes the target bigger. And then on top of that, it helps. So if I'm close to the target, it will automatically adjust my aim to get closer to that target. So aim assist is a thing. I always explain it like when in the 90s, and yes, I'm a 90s kid, there was a lot of auto tune in the music industry. And I remember there were two big things. There was auto tune because auto tune was just coming out. It was a new technology. And then the second was lip syncing, where they would play a background track and then do the moves and choreography to it. So there was that too. Aim assist to me is a lot like that. It is assisted. You're assisting in aiming, and when you compete, so there is assisted aiming. That's a great thing. Cool. But when you play competitively, when you launch a ranked game, the aim assist is off by default. Some titles do handle that differently. Fortnite, you can still get some aim assist. It's not a whole lot, but you can still get some, but it's reduced. It is reduced. And then Overwatch, it's non-existent. So if you're playing competitively with a title like Overwatch and using a controller, you're going to be at a big disadvantage compared to other players because the chance of you being paired against a keyboard and mouse player are pretty high. And then if you are, then you're at a disadvantage. Doesn't mean that there aren't amazing controller players out there. It does not mean that I have not seen people with a controller do really, really well. It's just the chance of that is a lot less. That'd be like going to a drag race, having my Kia Optima showing up at a drag race, and because the other person's car broke, I won the race. And now my Optima is amazing. It's like that. Like it can happen, but the chances of it are pretty small. And when you look across the board, the majority of esport players in the competitive scene are using keyboard mouse. They're not using a controller. The exception to that are any racing games. Rocket League is a good one that you'll see controllers quite a bit in that one. But even that, you'll still see people, I don't know how they do it, but they will still be using keyboard mouse. Yep. So anyways, I'm going to tell them, well, yeah, they're still talking about it. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. And who's here? Who's hanging out? Who's hanging out today? No one's lurking in the shadows. It'll be, yes, it is an adjustment. Yes, it will be. It's worthwhile, though. It's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. I talk a lot about skills, transferable skills. That's a pretty hot topic for me. I really um, I really try to focus on that. It's an important concept. I think you'll start hearing it a lot in your life about transferable skills, but it's something. It's a skill you can take from one thing to the next. Transferable skills about learning, about development, and I'm going to give a shout out to Lane Baxi because this is about development, right? And you got to work on things. You got to get feedback, and I give Lane feedback, and he immediately applies it, right? Like that's part of this process, and getting feedback and doing something different is obviously a learning curve, and it is an adjustment. It's going to be, a lot of people don't handle change well. I've worked with a lot of people that, and some of them very openly say, I don't handle change well. Some of them, they don't know that about themselves until a change happens. And then they realize, wow, I don't handle change really well. So that is a thing. Some people don't handle change well. Some people willingly accept change and they don't like it if things aren't changing. But that's part of growth and part of life. So huge shout out to Lane. Because yeah, getting feedback's important, but then taking that feedback and immediately implementing it is huge. That's great. Love to see it. Love to see it. I'm gonna put in here. Gave you a shout out. Nice. Cool. Well, yeah. Now he's here. Now he's here hanging out. Can you give a quick explanation of what's happening with the lab and whatnot? Great question. It's a hot mess. Here's the situation. We will most likely have 7 teams. It's pretty likely. Pretty likely that we have 7 different teams operating within our esports program starting in the fall. Why I say that? Because we're going to have tryouts the second week of school. I've had at least 3 students for each of the things that we posted for say they will be there. So that's huge. So 7 different teams. Trying to figure out how to organize and manage those 7 teams between 2 labs was very I could immediately knew that there was going to be a problem. And because it was last semester. Even last semester we had 4 teams and there were still times when there was overlap where people were not able to practice when they needed to. So my first thought was, okay, let's make a 3rd lab. Thankfully, we have some space. We had an empty office space. So originally, what I keep telling people, the way that email talk to, you need to get a separate email out to the students, not a newsletter thing informing everyone. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a great idea. So Elaine's saying just notify everybody about this lab and the changes. So yes, great. That's a fantastic idea, especially because I want them I'll go into the plans for that space here in a moment, and it'll make it even more important. So that was the first part. First thing was we needed another lab space. We needed another place where 5 people could go and practice during the year. So that's ultimately where it started. I had to rack my brain on like what to do with it, how to fix that, how to, magically pop out 5 new computers or whatever. And the solution was pretty straightforward once I got it, which was to break up the GG Leap lab. We have a lab of 10 Alienware computers that run a software called GG Leap. The software is designed to protect the computers. It's really a restrictive software that makes it so that people can only launch certain things. Which is great. That is a really good thing, but it's not good for competitive gaming because, as you can imagine, having a software in the background that's constantly restricting the computer isn't great. But for a public person who is just gaming, it's fantastic. And so we looking at the statistics for last semester, on average, we had 3 different students per day come into the public gaming lab, which doesn't justify having 10 computers in there. So 3 students were actively using the lab on a daily basis in the spring. So having 5 computers in there will fit that need and growth for that. So I wasn't worried about removing computers from that lab. The bigger worry is what do you do with that space? Which will come. So there's originally, and I've been saying this to a lot of people, I understand how this was originally set up to be, but it wasn't set up to be functional in what we need. Because unfortunately, the people who set the space up didn't really think or know or have any idea really about what it would look like and what it would need. They didn't, unfortunately, didn't bring me in to say, yeah, this is what you need, because it would look a lot different. But one of the things that came up too is in our rules for these competitive leagues, one of the rules talks about if you play in person, you cannot be in the same room. So there was several reasons why it was needed to move. Where the 5 computers moved to is attached to my office now. So, which was not built to be an office. I am making it an office, and attached to it was where the streaming area was supposed to be, but that is no longer going to happen. So just the way it was originally designed, our space wasn't designed in a way that fits what we need, which is okay. I am thankful we have the space. I'm thankful we have the ability to kind of spread out. But there is a separate 5 computer, what's called the Competition Lab 2. And that is for practices. It is not for the public. It is for private, for us to use for the esports program. And it is added. So when you go, one of the things that I did, Lane, that you will definitely appreciate and take advantage of is I had to figure out a way for you guys to schedule going to the labs, like actually renting, not really renting the space, but reserving it. Like you have to have a way to do that, to be able to reserve the space. That way, when you guys want to practice for Overwatch, then, the league team doesn't show up and are frustrated because they wanted to practice at that time and now they can't, or they got to be booted to the other lab because, they didn't get there in time or whatever, and that happened a couple times last semester. So what you'll have now is you will have a way to book time in the lab. So like, as Lane, you're the captain of the Overwatch team, you could come in here and you should and schedule your practices in advance. And it'll look something like this. It's pretty simple. We have 3 now labs that you could schedule time with to be practicing. 206 is the one that's new. That's the one that's by my office now. 210 is the GG Leap lab. That's the one that you are familiar with. And then 201 is the current competitive lab. So the first step was, okay, we got to get a 3rd lab. Where does it go? I've got the stuff in there. The desks are in there now. I have the computers in there. The next step is I need to run 1 more Ethernet line. So there's 4 Ethernet spots in that lab. I need 1 more. So there'll be 5 Ethernet spots in that lab. And the intention of that is specifically for you guys for competition. Like it's specifically for practicing and competing, so that if and when we do bring people here, we have a space to send them to. That's your space. You guys are in there. Go be in that spot. That's what we needed. The second problem that's going to come up, and so that's phase 1, is make the 3rd lab, get it set up and functional for the fall. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is, what do we do with the blank space that was created in 206 or 210? What do we do with that blank space? So I have found a very large table. Tabletop gaming is very important to me, and so is Magic the Gathering. Those are very dear in my heart, and we don't have a space in the university center to play any of those games. There's just no table or space to do it. So I found a giant table, and that will go in that space. So like, if you can imagine that GG Leap Lab, take 5 desks out of there, that's a huge space. So I'm going to put a huge table in there, and it'll have chairs all the way around. So that way you guys or anybody can use it for tabletop gaming and board gaming. And specifically, I'm Magic the Gathering. Like, I will bring my decks up here and we will play. Like, I am looking forward to having a space to do that. So, but that's part of it, right? So what do I do with that space? 1, it'll have a giant table for tabletop gaming. The second thing that I got I got several requests for this last spring was, can we bring our consoles up? And is there a space I can plug my PlayStation and play? Is there a space I can plug in and get Ethernet here and play on my Xbox? And so I'm going to be building what I'm calling BYOC, bring your own console stations. and one will go in that room. So there'll be the big table is going to be added in there, and then one couch and big screen TV that'll be set up to where it has the power, it has the Ethernet, anything that you would need to just bring your console up and plug it in and play. That will be available as well. So I'll actually put one in that room, and then I have another spot for another one of those. So we'll have at least 2, maybe 3 stations where people can come set their stuff up and get. And the big thing they said was we want Ethernet, so they have to have Ethernet, they have to have power, a TV, and a place to sit. So that's the Lane. I see you, Commander. Yes, I absolutely. I haven't played Commander in a very long time, and I've not played Match Magic lately, but I would love to. And yeah, love Magic the Gathering. Love it, love it, love it. So that's kind of the idea so far is one, separating out a third practice space, 2, making a way to reserve space. That way you guys can, set your practice. And Lane, you say that in there, right? Like, going in there and reserving I expect you to do that. I expect you to go in and whoever, it's first come, first serve. So if you're going to be practicing. So after our tryouts, that would be when once all right, here's the team, then that's when you say, okay, when do we practice? And then you come in here and schedule that so that it's there. There is obviously, if something's happening that I have to overrule any of these, I will. But I really want you guys to schedule them in advance because that makes it easier on everybody, especially me, and especially so. Another piece of this was putting out a student worker job. One of the student worker jobs that we'll have in the fall is a lab manager. Somebody that's already earmarked. So if you're like, I want to do that, somebody's already kind of on the hook for that. But it's that's an example of something that will help with this process. Is we will have one of the students. Their goal is going to be to help manage this. Their goal is to help keep the labs clean and tidy, help make sure the computers are up to date. That's going to be their job. And so that's part of this as well, of improving this process, because that was one of the big pain points from the spring was not enough space. Scheduling was a challenge. So this was all of my efforts to try to make that as painless as possible. There's still going to be issues, obviously, but this is at least a good step in the right direction to help reduce that pain point. And yes, Lane, the software GG Leap does restrict everything on the computer, including changing DPI settings, changing the refresh rate on the screens. The computers that I moved out of there will not have that software. So the ones that are in that new competition lab will not have the GG Leap software. They will just be regular Windows Alienware computers. They'll be just like the ones that are in our big lab. So that though they will operate the same way. They're not as new as the Legions that we have, but they still run everything fine. And in fact, with removing the GG Leap software, the games that will run better, just in general, they will run much better because they're not being restricted by that software. So anything you put on there after I remove that will be better. It will run better. So that's so far the plan. It's phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 is probably going to happen during the fall. It's going to be a very, very lengthy project. Basically, the next step is, okay, well, now I want a 4th lab. I want 4 labs. I want 4 separate spaces that could be practice, reserve, all of that. Where does that go? Where do we put another 6 computers or 5 computers? That's the next step. I just met with some actually a really good guy from Howard's his name. He was here when they designed this space and built it from the beginning. And so he's an asset to me. Like, he has a lot of oh yeah, well, this was the original idea and here's what we wanted this to look like. He has that knowledge, and he's also a gamer. So he's just a great asset and a great friend to us. But he was up here and we were just kind of brainstorming this idea, and what he suggested would be to split this 12 computer lab into 2 parts. So that's kind of what'll happen. There'll be a divider between the 2 6 computers on each side. That way there's at least some barrier between the 2 sides, so that if a team was practicing on one side and a team was on the other, there would be some separation there, but it would still be a big open lab. And I think that's one of the other issues, is that this is a very pretty looking lab. Like, this is a really pretty space, and everybody that walks by, they see it and they go, wow, this is really nice. So I don't want to disrupt that, but I also want to increase the functionality of the space that we do have. And to do that would be to break this up in some capacity. And on the future horizon for that too, we should be getting new equipment this year. We should be getting some new computers by the summer. So, a lot of that stuff is coming, and it's just going to take some time. But this is the temporary band-aid for it. Um, Brief explanation of what's happening with the lab and what I think that was the answer. I think that's all for right now. There's not anything else. I've been asked a lot of strange questions lately by the administration. One of them I got asked was, how do we get esports around campus? How do we get esports around campus? It's an interesting question. I don't know. So they're asking me things like, well, can we put in the dorm lobbies, can we put these computers in the dorm lobbies? Can we make an esports gaming or a mini esports gaming arena in each of our dorms? Would people use it? The first thing they said, would people use it? I'm like, heck yeah. If you put some gaming computers anywhere on campus, people are going to use them. Especially if you put like Ethernet to them and make them nice, like people would use them. We have to, keep them safe and everything, but they would be used. They would definitely be used. So that's the kind of things that I think I'm being asked now is how do we get more visible? That's kind of where it's at right now. So yeah, we've got 3 labs now, working towards a 4th, and organizing the spaces a little bit differently, bringing some traditional gaming in. I've earmarked money and a space now for an actual wooden arcade arena, like a wooden arcade cabinet space where I'll need to work on this. It's going to be like, we have to find some sponsors and stuff for this, but there will be a space where we'll have Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and like the traditional arcade cabinets, because that's part of gaming too. And it was really cool. I was at the coaches clinic over the summer. I went to an esport coaches clinic over the summer, and one of the people they brought was there's a kid that is in Stillwater, Oklahoma, who beat Tetris. It's like the first person to beat the game Tetris. He actually beat the game because, and I'm just quoting what he said. It was so funny. They asked him like, how did you do it? Like, what did you do? And he literally said, well, I just kept playing until the machine couldn't take it anymore. And then it stopped. And that was the end. Like that was it. Like, kid was amazing. And yeah, he was there. He spoke. And it was a very traditional old school arcade game. He brought the arcade cabinet or the machine that he used, and it was an old school tube TV. I mean, it was all of it. It was great. And but I think that, hey, Urban, good to see you. What's up, man? But yeah, I agree. I think having gaming out more places would definitely potentially bring people in, and that's selfishly. That's why we're running things like a Super Smash Brothers tournament. We're running a Super Smash Brothers tournament for the incoming freshmen and sophomore, anybody that's coming into the school as a welcome type activity. But I know that through that process, that will inherently attract people into the program, because they're going to be like, wow, this group is fun. They're doing fun things. I want to be part of that. That's kind of the appeal we have is esports is fun. It's a very fun thing, and it's happening. And a lot of the people that are in esports, they came through because of some of the events that we do. High school events are the same way. I see those as, yeah, they're community things, but they also bring people to campus. And a student that visits a college, I'm not saying East Central, I'm just saying in general, if a student visits a college campus, they are significantly, and I'm talking like 2 to 1, more likely to come to that campus and actually become a student there. Whereas if they did not tour a campus, the chance of them actually going there is very small, which is partly the strategy behind bringing high schools to campus. It's part of that strategy of encouraging higher education. And part of that is making the familiarity of the campus, building connections on campus, and getting them there. That's part of that strategy. So I am not unabashed by that. I'm not like hiding that idea of why that exists, but it works, and it exists for a reason. People don't pick a program because it exists. They usually pick it because they know somebody in it, or they know a part of it, or they've been exposed to it. That's generally what happens. And yeah, where it won't happen is like if I'm out recruiting people, and bringing people to campus in October-ish, September, October-ish time, November, you guys are going to be on your own for the most part. Like that's the other thing. That's so funny. Like I haven't told anybody this, but this is funny. I don't think you guys realize as the esport players, like I'm going to get you guys started, but then you're going to be on your own a little bit, because part of my job will then immediately shift from, once the teams are set, you guys are competing, things are going, my method and mentality will shift to, okay, now I need to recruit. I need to find students. I need to go out and visit high schools. I need to go to esport events around the state. I need to, go on students' Twitch channels and watch them play, and I get to know them and talk to them. And that will be a significant portion of my job, because I'll be honest with you guys, that's the only way that we keep this going. I and our budget are built based on how many students are involved. So if I want our program to grow, if I want more student workers, if I want to hire a coach, if I want more money, just think of that. Just if I want more money, I have to bring more students. It's I'm going to kind of share this, but think of it, the tuition dollars that you guys are spending, they go to support the school and they go to fund the things that we do. Well, that comes to the esport program in some capacity. It goes to the athletic. If you are a football player and you're playing football in the football program, you bet that you're supporting the football program. And how are you doing that? Your tuition dollars help support that. That's not a secret. That's not like, that should not be a secret to any of you. You guys pay tuition and fees for a reason. So one, you should be part of a program because you're already supporting them in some capacity, but then that's what helps us grow. It will come to a point where, so like, for example, I said we had 24 students in the spring. Okay, Cody, here's this much tuition waivers you have based on that number. If I come back in the fall and I say, hey, I got 35, then I need to say I need more money. That's how that works. So if you are in the program and you're like, I want to do this, and it may not exist right now, it may not be something that is ready, but that's how we do it. That's how it happens, is we grow it to get enough people to support it. Simple example, right? So I'm going to let you guys marinate on this. How many students do you think I have to have in the program to support one student worker? There is a calculation for that. There is a dollar amount, how much it costs to support a student worker. So that's not just like magic. That's a designed approach that I've taken to make sure that we're profitable and that we continue to grow. So it's a very specific thing. So yeah, we have 24, and I shared earlier that I'm supporting 6 student workers. So that's the math for it. It's a 6-to-1-ish ratio, or 4-to-1, whatever the ratio is for that. 4-to-1. But that's a ratio that's important, right? You have to have that set so that way as you grow, that's how much you need. So basically, if we add another 5 to 10 people, that's another student worker. That's the way that works. If I get to 50 students, that's a coach. That's a coach. That's a person's job to be a coach. But I can't afford that until I get to 50 students. So that's the way that works. And I'll explain this to the players. I'll make sure I try to be as transparent on that as possible. So if you are in the esports program and you want it to grow and you want it to succeed, help me with things like recruiting, help me run events, help me, make this thing successful, because then it will ultimately make you successful, and make you be able to do the things that you want to do through the program. So that's the way it works. I expect us to be about 35. That's my target after tryouts, about 35 students. We ended the spring with 24. So which is an amazing start. We're already bigger than the baseball program. Think of that. Seriously think about that. We are as big as the baseball program, except the baseball program has a junior varsity team and a varsity team. The junior varsity team, they're not getting any scholarships. They're just 12 dudes that want to play collegiate baseball. And I expect that to kind of also happen for us in esports. We'll have a bunch of people who are competing at like a junior varsity level, more like a club level. And we support them, help pay their fees, help them be part of the competition, manage it, but they're not necessarily getting scholarships. That's what will happen to this program over time as we grow. And so, scholarships will be different. The other thing about the scholarships that's important to really note, and I'll say this to the whole group when we come together, is, the scholarship money will follow success. Is just a straightforward statement. The scholarship money will follow success. If your team does well, you can expect that the following year, your team is going to get more money. If your team does not perform, then you are going to expect to not get as much scholarship money the following. And that is, these two scenarios are going to happen in this fall. I already know the team that's getting more money, and I already know the team that's not. That's already set up because that's the way that I want it designed. I want it as I explained that from the beginning. This is a performance-based scholarship that's based on the performance of the team and the team members. And that's the way that the money will work. And it will continue to be that way. And so if you are curious, go look at what teams performed well. Go look at what teams did things. And if the team did something, they are going to get recognized for that. That's how it works. That's how the world works. Like, I don't know it's just how things work. You know, if you do well, you get rewarded. It's not usually you get rewarded and then do well. It's Lane, you are right. Overwatch did do well. Overwatch made it to the playoffs. They made it all the way to the finals. They got knocked out in the finals, but you still did. That will be recognized. I can tell you that because that's important. And that shows that we're doing good. It's a good look for the school. That's a good thing, right? League of Legends, they did really well in the fall. I'm not going to forget that. They were undefeated in the fall. Spring was a little rocky for a variety of reasons some of those were way out of our control. Some of them just were issues that just came up, but that's an important thing. And if, I will cover that with those teams. I will make sure that you're like, okay, I understand. This is why it happened. And this is what's happening. Someone asked me, can our scholarships be reduced? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there will be people in the fall, I will imagine there will be people getting no scholarships. That's going to happen. And it might be you. I might come to you and say, look, your performance last year doesn't warrant me to continue to give you a scholarship yet. I have to move that money to other places. And this is the conversation I'm going to have with you. I have to move that money to other places. I have to follow the scholarship money has to follow the success of the program. And I have to funnel that. It's my responsibility to funnel that money to what is working. So here's your opportunity. If you want to continue to be involved, this is your opportunity to continue to compete. Show me and do better. That way that I can then give you guys more money. That's what it will be. And has nothing to do with feelings. It has nothing to do with how I feel about you. I like everybody. It's called running a business. And that's partly why the school was okay with me coming on board with this, is because that's where my background is. My background is in the business world. I've not been in higher education more than 2 years. It's been a very short time. So I am very new to higher education, and I get asked a lot of questions that I don't know the answer to, just because I get asked all the time. I don't know, but I will find out, and I learn, and I get it figured out, and I answer you back pretty fast. That's just the way it goes, So I don't know where that or how that spiraled into all of that, but there you go. Lane, that was a great question, Lane. Excellent question. I'm just catching up on chat here. Job won't work around extracurricular though, which sucks. You work for the nation though, right? I'm just making sure I remember that. But anything that goes on during my time at ECU, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah. I figured. I remembered that we had talked about this before about you working for the nation, and which is great. Chickasaw Nation is awesome. I actually, I told you, I actually do need your help now that I think about it, Brecken. Next week, the Chickasaw Nation is coming here to tour our esports facilities. so it would be great if you could be here. I'll message you exactly right now when that's going to be. I got a hold of the Chickasaw Nation is doing an esports league. They actually have students that, what's it called? They are looking for students around the state of Oklahoma who their schools don't offer esports, and they're offering esports to those students, which is amazing. I think it's great. And he said they've got about over 20-ish students that compete, and they play all kinds of different games. So they are, I've been trying to coordinate with them because, that's a great partnership between what they're doing, what we could offer them. We could be their event space. We could help facilitate practices with them or whatever. So they will be here on campus next week. Clayton is his name, and Clayton Edwards. And he said he's bringing some of his staff to visit and to visit with us and to see our space and I understand collegiate esports a little bit better. So I'll message that to you right now before I forget. when that will be. When that will be. It is going to be Wednesday at. And that's, I wonder if, Brecken, you say to the nation, hey, this is happening. Can I have off to go do this or whatever? I would be shocked if they didn't allow that. But then again, Brecken's a pretty important dude. You know, he's moving up there in the world. Okay, it is going to be 11 o'clock on the 13th. 11 o'clock on the 13th. It's 11 o'clock. I didn't really advertise this one just because it's, if like a school comes and visits, I don't usually advertise it unless I know someone that went to that school, and the nation's a bit unique in what they're doing. So, but yeah, feel free. Feel free to come to that. Feel free. Just catching up on chat just for a second. You look at your performance and measure it to competitors' rosters. That's a good question. So shout out Claudio. Thank you, Claudio, for coming. Cool Audio actually came up to visit. So y'all, if you are watching this, if you're hanging out, you are welcome to come visit. Please do. Like, I would love to show you our facilities, love to talk to you in person, give you some free merch, like whatever you want. But yeah, Cool came up. He visited for a little bit. We chatted. It's a good question. Esports programs at the collegiate level are very different. It's not like, I guess I'll back up. This is probably the best way to explain it. Traditional sports has the NCAA, which as a massive entity attempts to level the playing field for collegiate sports. And they do that by putting people in divisions and conferences, and it's not perfect. It's not close to perfect, but they do it based on a lot of factors. It's a lot easier to do that with traditional sports because there's a physical element to it. And what I mean by that is I could have somebody in Norway competing against me, and I'm in the US, and we're nowhere near each other, yet we're competing. And so the location of competition is non-existent, which is very odd. If you think about like OU, Oklahoma University, their location is a big part of the draw to go there. OSU, the big draw is to go there, to be in Stillwater. The location of these schools is often a very important driving factor for their success. Whereas with esports, the location does not really mean anything. It can, and one example I usually give is that the best League of Legends team in the entire country is out of a really small, very small, less than 2,000 student school. But they focused in on League of Legends, and they said, we're going to be the best at League of Legends. And they are. But that's, it's so when measuring your performance within the program, I have to go off of the students' performance and their performance within their competition. The good news is that when we compete nationally, we get ranked against people that are of like skill. So if we're in a conference of 16 different schools and those 16 different schools are all about the same rank, then that tells me we're on a level playing field. And that's generally the way it works. It'll work a little bit differently. Any CC does a little bit different approach to how they handle that process. With NACE, who we were with before, they would look at the competitive rank average of the team. So every team, kind of like Cool, you play Rocket League. So, they would take the 3 players. They would say, okay, what's their rank? If they're diamond, platinum, emerald, whatever their rank is, they would give that a number, and they would average that into a team average for the rank, and then they would build the brackets based on that. And the only reason we can do that, again, so I mentioned the location, right? Because the location doesn't matter, suddenly you can have a league and we're in one that has over 2,000 universities in it. So out of those 2,000 universities, there's a pretty good chance that we'll be able to form a conference of 16 schools that are of a similar capacity. And I say that to just say it's difficult to measure against other people. The measurements we have are as balanced as they could be. That is not the only thing that I measure. For instance, your development as a student is important to me. I gave Lane some kudos earlier. he took feedback really well and then implemented it. Like that's important to me because I know that will. So of course the character of the student is going to be part of this equation. But then so I balance the metrics that they have, the performance and character of the student, and then the performance of the team overall. Like that's generally how I did. And I was telling someone earlier, I would safely say, that the most complicated part of what I'm doing is the determination of scholarship. It is incredibly difficult, and it's super difficult because I care a lot about this, and I care a lot about the students, and I really want, like, I understand how expensive, like I get that it's very difficult, it's very expensive. I understand all of that, and it is some sacrifice at times to do this, but that's important. And I personally had to sacrifice a lot in my life to get things, and I'm not exempt of that, and neither is anybody. And so that's part of the process as well. But that is not easy. Dealing with scholarships is not easy at all. Um, Measuring yourself against other people. So one of the other things we did, Claudio, that was important was finding. So we have the national thing, huge, 2,000 schools, but there is something to that location situation. There is something to where the school is physically located and the school's size, as an example, or the school's economic impact. You know, OU has a very significant economic impact. ECU also has a very significant economic impact. And there was a great economic impact statement that East Central University released earlier this year that talked about it. But the universities make a significant impact on wherever they are. But if you took OU's economic impact and compared it to East Central's economic impact, those are not the same thing. It's not the same apples, right? It's not, has nothing, we can't even come close. However, and I say this very weirdly, our esports program here, I'm going to say, is as well equipped, if not better, in some aspects than OU's. Why that is, I can tell you all day long about why that is. And, you know, if you've been following, it has to do with like administration buy-in and, you know, the school itself. And there's a lot that goes into that. But it's weird to me as I've been touring facilities and getting to meet people and know people and see what they have to offer. What we have to offer is actually quite a bit better and quite a bit more unique than what a lot of schools do. And some of that is our location. Some of that is the fact that we're here and it's cheaper to come here. And, you know, it's a lot more affordable to live in Ada, Oklahoma than it is up in OU in Edmond. And, you know, when a student looks at their OU bill and it's $12,000 for one semester, and then an ECU student looks at theirs and they're like, that was 3 years for me. That's a huge difference. And so I think it's difficult to compare yourself apples to apples. It's very difficult, especially because esports is so unique. And I'll tell you, when I do, I find that we are much better equipped. And I'll tell you, other students see it too when we go to recruiting events. So funny story, right? Claudio, you were up here. You saw like my recruiting table. You saw all the little goodies on there, and like I'm proud of that. Like it's a good presentation. One of the things that Alyssa and I worked on was I always say all the stuff that was made by students, and it's true. Like Alyssa and I, we sat down and one of the things I said was, okay, I have rules. I set rules, and then she fit within those rules and it worked out. Like that's how I operate. I give you the conditions, I give you my expectations, but how you go about it is totally up to you. Claudio, I probably said that to you 10 years ago. I don't care how you go about doing it, but here's what I need you to do. Like that's the same mentality I have today. So I gave her rules. I said, it can't expire. Whatever we buy cannot have an expiration date. It cannot be a single use item, and it cannot be food. Those are not promotional materials. So if it's expires, one-time use, or is food, no, can't do it. Well, what does that translate to? Well, it translates to you buying physical things. And when you buy physical things, you end up getting verticality. And verticality means something's high or low. I just thought, and this is true, that having things that are vertical bring people's eyes up to you and therefore will make them engage with you. So guess what we saw at these recruiting events? We saw people, our table was labeled as the most popular table at the event. Our table was labeled as the most engaging table at the event. Our table was labeled as the best merchandise for the event. We had the best stickers for the event. All of it. But it was because of those very careful rules and then fitting within those rules. Verticality. I have our jersey up on a little standing hanger thing, right? Super simple things. That after the first event we went to, the second recruiting event we went to, guess what happened? All the other tables started to have verticality. They brought things that were standing up. They brought things to put their jerseys on. So again, we are having a significant impact on the esports space already. And it's a very unique opportunity for us and one where we're doing very well. So I am not concerned about like players coming in, people being involved, because we're setting it up right. It's getting set up correctly, and we're doing the right things. Awesome. Yeah. Marketing whiz. I wouldn't say that. I did spend some time in the marketing department for East Central University and learned quite a bit from that. But I'm no marketing whiz. Great questions, y'all. Any other questions? Feel free to fire them out. Let me know what you got. I was going to share one cool announcement. I'm super pumped about this. Like, I don't know why. I know why. Like, it's just a big deal to me. It's a really big deal, and I'm happy about it. I'm over the moon. So one of the things I want to do for y'all is I want to bring people to campus and people onto like this platform who are working in the esports field, who their careers are in esports. I want you guys to hear from people that are doing it, people that are actually living esports as their career right now. You hear it from me because I'm one of them, but I want you to hear from other people too. So I've been starting to put my feelers out and find some people that would be really good to come on and talk, because that's valuable. It's valuable for you guys to hear from others in the space. And I've said this a lot. It will be very likely that when you guys graduate, you will go into some sort of esports related field. It's incredibly likely that happens. So what can I do to help you is I can give you some experience. I can show you, here are some examples of people that have made it. Here are people that are doing it now. And getting to know these people is very important. And so I am pleased to announce that we will be having the first ever careers in esports talk. It will be on this Twitch channel next Thursday, so a week from today. And I'll be interviewing Jacob Van Ryn, and he is the CEO for NECC, and that is the National Esports Collegiate League that we're going to be part of, that has the over 2,000 schools. So when I introduce him, I'll say, you are running the largest collegiate league now that exists. Tell us how that happened. Tell us how you got involved in esports. I can tell you Jacob's background is he was not in esports all the time. He did other things, but got to this point for a reason. So I'm really excited to have Jacob come on. I'm really excited about esports. I'm passionate about, I can go on and on and on about it. He's a person that mirrors that. And it's funny when we talk together because we get so into it and so excited. It's just like a mess, but it's great. It's really great. So I'm excited. This will be next Thursday. I will bring Jacob on. I think he's inviting a few of his staff. So there may be some other people from that company here, because I want you guys to hear it from them. I want to hear it from them. Hear them come on and talk to you guys. I have some questions for him, like some specific targeted ones that he can answer. But then you guys in the chat as well, like if you're here watching and we're live, ask questions. Like, this is an opportunity for you guys to talk to somebody and get their feedback, somebody who's in the space working those jobs. And has been amazing. Like Jacob, every time I've reached out to him, he's been awesome. He's been a great help. And there are several people I've engaged in the esports space who have been incredible, who have really made the whole process easier and given me a lot of hope, I think is the bigger part about giving me hope. I know it sounds weird because I'm here preaching to you guys like, oh, this is great. You guys, this is the future. But it's still something that I'm selling that, I'm having to sell you guys on that. So that requires me to be believing in it. If I don't believe it, then the chance of me selling it is going to go down a lot. So I have to believe that. And Jacob's one of those guys that he gives me hope that this is real. You know, he makes it legitimate for me. So I hope that you guys get that as well when he comes on. So super, super excited. Some chat questions. And you can ever consider an alumni field day? That would be amazing. Claudio, that'd be amazing. So a couple things we're going to do in the fall. We're going to do intramurals. That could be a potential intramural thing. I don't have, and Claudio, that's a good point, right? Like I don't have here's one thing traditional sports has, one thing the football program has. The football program here has been going on for like 100 years, right? Like literally 100 years, which means they've had a lot of people come through the program, graduate, move on, work, live, and then pass away. With how old the football program is, they have a significant amount of alumni and what I'm calling boosters. And boosters, Cool Audio is a booster. Sorry, Claudio, you're a booster, man. Boosters are people who help support and people who help grow your program, who are in contact, who are engaged with your program, who are not staff members or students directly involved with the program. They could be parents, grandparents, other people in the community. They could be other staff members throughout the university, but boosters are how our program will continue to grow. Booster clubs, you guys have probably heard that from high school, like a booster club thing. But the reality is esports does not have a significant level of alumni that we can engage and we can get assistance from. And it's not always financial assistance that is part of it, but it also is things like showing up to events and helping out and volunteering for things and, you know, just coming on the Twitch streams when we have games. Like this Coach's Corner is a small part of this. I know when the season starts, like our Twitch will be blown up. Like we'll have a ton of people on here. But my goal was to just keep us engaged and keep things happening, which is doing that. So which is great. But this is that process, right? This is what that is. This is playing the long game. This is playing the game where I know this is going to be here in 20 years. I am trying to foster and build a relationship with people who are not necessarily esports alumni, but they're interested and they're wanting to see it succeed. And I think when I put it in that framework, that's a lot of people, especially people like these high school parents who their student is going through esports and they have no idea anything about it, but their kid's into it. And so they're into it. I'm like that with gymnastics. I don't do gymnastics. You don't see me doing a cartwheel or a flip, but my daughter does. So I am very interested in it and I watch it and I keep up with it and I make sure I know the news, and that's me. I am helping boost gymnastics. And if I run into somebody, I will tell them, yeah, gymnastics is great. Put your kids in it. Here's who we use. They're fantastic. That's boosting. I am a booster for that thing. And esports needs that. We need that. And I'll call out Allie's mom, Miss Mabry. She's a great example of that. She's a booster. She's awesome. She wants to see us do well. She's been very supportive, very helpful. Been great. So we have boosters already, but we need more. And as we get more and more of that, that's when we would open up things like that about alumni activities and, you know, have them come up and tour the lab. I will have an open house as an example. We could do that, Claudia. We can schedule an open house for the public and the alumni and invite them and have snacks or whatever. That's a very feasible thing to do. I would love to do that. So that's just a example of how we can keep that engagement going with the alumni. We have a few though, calling out Nigel Wells, you know, calling out some of the people who have graduated, that as you guys graduate, you will then shift into that. I can now support this from the outside and be a booster for this thing and help it go to the next level and stay engaged and stay part of this thing through your life. And that is the magic of the sport side of things, where this is now a community that you guys will stay with forever. And it will be here. And so 20 years from now, you know, it might be your kid. It might be your kid coming through here. And then you were like, hey, I did esports. That will be a reality. And that will happen. It will definitely happen. It may not be me, but maybe it will be. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not really sure what that will look like. I there was a lot of chatter going on. I did not. Yep, yep. Brainstorm. Yes, brainstorm some questions. Bring him for Jacob. He's great. I love Jacob. He's a great guy. Alumni growth of the esports impact. Yep. My wife's in here chatting. My wife's a booster. She's in here hanging out, visiting, helping us out. Nice. There you go. Yes. So I've been speaking of recruitment. I have been reading through. Part of my project today was reading through the NCAA rule book. Oh my God. You want to talk about serious. I've been reading through that. So the NCAA has rules for you as a booster and how not you can help with recruitment. Like it's defined. Here are the things that you can and can't do. The beauty is we are not part of the NCAA. So although I'm researching it and learning the rules just so I can use it as a framework, we don't have to follow any of them. We don't have to follow any of them. Not yet, at least. I hope the NCAA. I hope it scoops up esports, but I don't know. Destiny called out a good point. So when I was a student here, we had a gaming club that no longer exists now. So and that's kind of why I say there are people that are interested that want to see it succeed. That group of people would be in that same boat. Howard, the guy I visited with earlier, he's an amazing. He plays Magic the Gathering. That's like his jam. So when I said I'm looking for a giant table so that we have a space for you guys to play Magic the Gathering, he's a staff member. He's somebody who's been working here forever, and he was excited about us having a table. So it's not just the esports, it's people that are involved in gaming and then people that are involved in traditional gaming, people that play Magic or Dungeons and Dragons. And those are also potential audience pieces. The other one that I'll throw out there, and because I've spent a lot of time thinking through this and how to target these, I'm looking for people in the tech space. So not necessarily in esports, but maybe they work for Microsoft. Maybe they work Blizzard's customer service. Like there is so much out there in the gaming industry and the technology industry, and generally people that are into technology are into gaming, and people into gaming are into esports. Like it's kind of a thing. COVID's a great example. Yeah, during COVID, a lot of people picked up gaming. There's a great story about gaming I love to share. And I shared this. I had to sell esports to the school. This was one of the stories I shared in my presentation that I got asked a lot of follow-up questions on. Usually when you're giving a presentation, the questions that like the follow-up questions, that tells you where they were most interested and like where they were paying attention. And the story has to do with NASCAR and it has to do with COVID. So during COVID, NASCAR had to shut down everything. They could not race at all. So very smartly, whoever decided this is great, and I love them to death. But they decided that to help keep the drivers' skills, they were going to look at sim racing as a potential practice element. And they'd already been using they've already been using sim racing to some extent, but they hadn't ever used it in this capacity. So during COVID, they took the drivers, they built sim racing rigs, are what they're called. I'll look it up and show you. Sim racing rig, just so you can kind of see, but they are basically the skeleton of a car, but without any components. You hook a monitor up to it, you hook your stuff up to this machine. And so they built these very elaborate. If you can Google some of these NASCAR sim racing rigs. Some of them, they actually took it apart, and then put this stuff in it to model and mirror what the car was like. It's very intense, very intense. What they found was the drivers said that they preferred the sim racing. And they preferred the sim racing. And at first they thought, oh, it's because of blah, blah, blah. It's because it's easier, less noise, whatever. When they asked the drivers, why is it? Like, what is it about sim racing that you like? The number one answer they gave was this: never in my life have I been able to compete and play against my friends from across the world as frequently as I do now. I would only be able to race against my friend from France twice a year. That's the only time I'd be able to see him, only time we'd be able to race. But now we do it every day. And now we're talking almost every day, playing and hanging out. So it created a community connection for them. That was the selling point for it. It had nothing to do with the equipment, had nothing to do with the performance. It had more to do with their ability to connect with their peers. And that is what esports does. It helps us connect and compete across a very long distance with very minimal equipment and still get that same experience. And to me, that's amazing. I mean, that is amazing that happened. I'm glad it happened. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened during COVID, but that's a success story that I share because not all of it was bad. And some industries and groups did adapt really well to what was happening, and some did not. A lot of companies, I would say most of them, the company I was working for, definitely, it was tough. It was rough. I mean, it was just rough because no one knew what to do. And some people and some companies were very innovative and very exceptional with their decision making and made it work. Sim racing now, I usually end with this. I say sim racing now is incredibly popular. It is rising in the amount of people that are playing it, are interested in it. We're starting to see eNASCAR or iNASCAR, NASCAR sanctioned esport events. That's starting to happen where NASCAR is now starting to actually host these. Now, back to recruiting. Why do you think NASCAR wants to do that? NASCAR wants to do that because that creates interest in NASCAR. It gets people who had never experienced it exposure. And so who do you think they're pitching NASCAR as a career to? They're pitching it to these esports students. They're pitching it to these guys playing eNASCAR because they know that that's where those people will come from. And it's why I keep telling people, these businesses, if you want good people, if you want really sharp people, you really need to pay attention to esports because this is where you're going to get really sharp people who are really good at technology, who are coachable and adaptable. And that's exactly what they're asking for. So this is where it is. This is what happens. So there you go. That's the NASCAR story. It's a great story. I'm reading Brecken's comment. This is why League of Legends is such a powerful rise to glory. Back in 2011, the free-to-play model was not popular in America. I agree with that. I remember when League of Legends came out, and people were shocked. I remember when Riot released League of Legends, people were shocked at the quality of the game for it being free. I remember that very clearly. People were stunned that this game is free to play, and it's this good. I do remember that very clearly. And Riot they set that like, this is our thing. Now it's not that way. I mean, anybody that plays League of Legends now knows it is a cash grab at this point. It's kind of sad to see, but that's because they were sold. I talked about that last time. Two dudes owned it. It was their passion project. They put their heart and soul into it. And now it's purchased and bought by Tencent. So now it's owned by some conglomeration of people, which means it's not in the best interest of the players. It's going to be the best interest of the investors, which it's not good. But yeah, I do remember that. That's a good point. That, along with having super minimal system requirements, super low barrier to entry, which has made it competitive for sure. You know, I will say League of Legends in particular, because of the popularity in the Asia market, they were also able to propel their success. The Worlds, League of Legends Worlds events, that's actually one in my presentation I share, is about that particular Worlds Championship. That was the first one that was televised on a national news in the US. It was the first one to attract over 1 million people. But more importantly about that event was how much, yes, the one I'm talking about is LA Up. They sold out the whole stadium. I mean, the whole stadium was packed. I think it was like 20, I don't remember how, 20,000 people or whatever. The more remarkable statistic from that event wasn't the attendance at the event. It wasn't the broadcasting of it. And this is, again, esports is very unique. It's very different. The most remarkable statistic of that event had to do with how many hours of watching was done. Because that event, not only was it on live TV, it was also broadcast on Twitch, and people were watching it and live streaming it. They were live streaming the matches in between. So the developers could tell who was popular to watch, and then they would prioritize the national traffic to follow what people were watching. Like, that's genius. I'm going to put this on Twitch, who people are watching, whatever one has the most views, that's what we're going to put on our national broadcast. That's what they did. And if you go back and look, there's some statistics that float out there. It is outrageous the amount of viewed hours that Worlds event had. It was ridiculous. So it shows the uniqueness of esports, the uniqueness in the way that we absorb content. I mean, even this, you guys are on Twitch hanging out, listening to me talk, but that's unique. I presented this whole bringing this guy on Twitch. The first question I got asked, how much is this going to cost? Jacob, I'm talking about bringing Jacob. First question, what's it going to cost? That was the first question. First worry, what's it going to cost? And when I told them this figure, they said, what do you mean? they said, I said, it's going to be, I said, this is going to be no cost to us. They said, what do you mean? I said, this isn't going to cost any money. They were stunned. Because after I said that, they said, well, you know, we actually have money that we have available to bring people to campus. So if you ever have somebody, we can pay for it. I'm like, well, that's good to know now. But this is a unique platform that I can leverage to help bring you guys very unique content, to bring people from the industry on to talk. And Jacob I asked him, he was like, yes, let's do it. He was excited, you know, like that's great. And I think because it's not him physically coming here, and maybe that's the next step. Maybe the next step is we physically bring him here and he talks to the whole school. Like that's really cool. And I think that's something that we could do. But it's because of our uniqueness and our platform and how we operate that I can do that and bring someone on and it not cost us anything. And you guys don't pay anything. What do you pay to watch this? Nothing. It's free. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can watch it later too. You don't have to watch me now. Just so you guys know, there's about, on average, about 7 to 9 people who watch this real time. But then we end up getting about 30 to 50 views on these videos. So there is a significant portion of people who are watching this in the future. So thank you. Hello, future people. But that's a significant portion of people that watch this. They're not watching it when it's happening. They're watching it on their own time. And that's what they found with Worlds. They found that most people, the majority of people, were not watching the matches live. They were watching them after the fact. And so they started tracking the amount of hours that they were watching these streams. And it was insane. I'm going to look it up, see if I can find the statistic for you. It was a ridiculous play watch time. I think it's watch time. Oh, let's see. Okay, well, I found the 2023 one, so you can use this as an example. So this is Worlds from 2023. 6.4 million people. That's the peak viewership as to how many people were watching at the same time. 6.4 million. YouTube peaked at 3.2 million, which broke the record for last semester. I have somebody coming in here. I don't know who they are, but I think they're going to come ask me a question. I'll have to pause just for a second, guys. I'm sorry. There you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Finally, that's great. They're installing a Ethernet line in my office. I can't get a phone until I have an Ethernet, and I can't get a phone. Like I've had people ask me, "What's your phone number?" I don't have a phone number, guys, because I don't have an Ethernet line. Because I don't have. And yes, I put the ticket in a long time ago, so that's okay. I'm glad they're here. He's inspecting my promotional materials. I should go take him to tell him to take him. If they're still out there, I will. But yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Working in higher education has been very interesting because I worked in some pretty bureaucratic organizations where like the bureaucracy was very thick and like some things, you know, would take. But then I've worked in organizations that it was like you do whatever, all bets are off. You know, do whatever you want. So, but working in higher education has been very interesting in the bureaucracy. It's been very interesting. I missed a couple chats. Let me, I I finished all my projects so I can hang out. Love it. I'm supposed to be reading a history book. This is a history book. What are you talking about? Like, we're learning history here. We're going through history. Um, okay, so the stat. Let me finish this thought on the stat for the viewership. So 6.4 million people view it. But here's the stat that they focus on. 146 million hours. 146 million hours. ChatGPT, help me out. What does that translate to lives? How many lives? Is that some? That's got to be way more. Let's see how many lives is this. How many lives? I have a random research tab on my ChatGPT that has like all of this in it. So if you ever want to know what I'm researching, that's where you go. How many lives would more than 146 million hours watched equate to? Now it's probably going to give me lives of a squirrel, but we'll see. The average lifespan is approximately 73 years. That's the current average lifespan for an adult. And it says that 146 million hours translates to roughly 228 human lives. Like, let that sink in. We watched 228 lifetimes of League of Legends collectively. We deserve a medal. Like, we should have a trophy for this. This should be like every person that was there should get something in the mail. You successfully used 228 lives of people. Like, that's so funny. It's so funny to think about, but it's wild when you think about how much that is. So, business hat, advertisement. When I'm selling advertisements for the university for esports, I talk about this. I talk about how, yes, we are getting live, audience engagement, but more importantly is the people who watch afterwards. And Twitch is free. So think about that. That's 16 million or 146 million hours of streaming content that was not costing the user, but then they generated an absurd amount of ad revenue based on that. So it's very interesting when you look at that type of thing. But Worlds, it had more to do with the viewership after the fact. That was the bigger part of this thing. It's great. Let's see. I think regional events would be really beneficial for the program. So we will be doing, I haven't gotten final confirmation, but we may be hosting one of the high school leagues regional competitions. And there's two of this for 2 days. We may be hosting that. So that's an example where we will have potentially that. I know on the books, I have a high school Super Smash Brothers tournament that will happen about mid-October. And last year we had 7 high schools come, but I think this year we'll probably have closer to 10, just because of their people are getting to know that we're available. And so, yeah, having those community events is huge. Like and I often talk about that. I don't usually use the word cheapest. I usually say things like, we are the most affordable university in the state of Oklahoma. We rank 95% of the cost of the next cheapest university or next most affordable university in the state of Oklahoma. Those are important statistics. I also, when I'm talking about recruiting, I talk about the campus and the size of the schools. You can come here and you can get and develop a personal relationship and a professional relationship with the faculty and staff that you encounter. And I mean that like, even with me, like, you guys are getting to know me, I'm getting to know you. Like, that's very important to me. Like, I really want you guys to know that I care. And like, that part of that is me getting to know you and being here and being invested in your life, not just esports and not just school, but being invested in you as a person. If my program was 200 people, there's no way I would be able to do that. And it will get to a point where I will get sad because I might not be able to have a connection with everybody. But East Central is unique in that it does have the capacity for that, because of the size of student to faculty, student to staff ratio is also the lowest in the state. So not only are we the most affordable, we also have a significantly lower student to faculty ratio, which then translates to you as a student saving money, but then also building amazing connections and amazing relationships with people that I would never get on a massive campus where I'm just one of 300 in an economics class, and the economics class professor with 300 is really only interested in the top 5% and the bottom 5%. Everyone else in the middle he doesn't care about because they're just part of the numbers. But those bottom five, he's got to get out of there and failed within the next couple of weeks. And the top five, he's got to be finding, what's their next thing? What are they like? That's their life. And I tell you that because that's what they've told me. I've asked them. Like, that's what they say. I have to only focus on this and this because I can't worry about what's in the middle. They're going to come and go. Like, that's a reality for them. So I didn't want that. That's why I came here. And I see it happen a lot. I see people go to big universities and then they end up coming to East Central after their first semester. And the feedback is usually always the same. Wow, the community here is great. I love the campus is a lot smaller. It's a lot easier to navigate. The people are friendly. Like, I love, getting to know people, and like the faculty are great, staff are great. Like, that's the feedback I get and I hear when someone comes from OU or they come from OSU or they come from Wichita State. They say things like that. I feel much more connected. I feel like I belong. I'm more, I'm heard. One girl, I'm not even joking you, she said, wow, I feel heard here. She said, that's my biggest thing. I feel heard. I feel like people listen. I feel like people actually listen to me and people hear me and they know me. And I don't feel like I was heard. I feel like I was just a number. Like, that's serious. That's huge. I feel heard. God, I feel bad that someone is just feeling heard. Sorry, I talked to an AT&T employee the other day. He's from Houston. Ah, nice. Yep, there you go. Most affordable place in the country. Higher education seems more bureaucratic than it needs to be in some cases. Yes. Yeah, we are not the cheapest in the US. That is for sure. We're not the cheapest. And that, I mean, that's, if you look at the other ones, they're usually in even more remote places. And not to mention, so I usually talk about that affordability, class ratio. And then honestly, the third thing I bring up is really the way that Ada is set up is incredibly unique. Ada is a very unique town. And the fact that we have the city of Ada, massive. We have the East Central University, also massive. But then we also have the Chickasaw Nation, which is massive in its own regard. But because of that relationship, East Central University has a lot of opportunities that are only here. We have some things that are just not available because we don't have that support of a three-legged system where the city of Ada, East Central, and Chickasaw Nation are massive entities working together for the ultimate goal of betterment of this area and betterment of the people in this, the citizens, us. That's on it. Like, if you go look at what the Chickasaw Nation's goal is to better their citizens, and by doing so affects the people around them. Okay, that totally makes sense, right? If I make you better, then you're going to be better, and then the person next to you is going to be better, and then that person, like, that makes sense, right? That's what the city of Ada is trying to do as well. And what East Central is trying to do is we're trying to better the people that we are responsible for so that they can be better citizens to those around them, and therefore improving the lives of everybody. And it's a really, really important concept. And that's the third thing I usually sell people on is I usually talk about that. You should talk about, things like Bird Springs Mill. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It is one of the most pure water sources that exists in the US, and we have a direct tap to it. There's a saying in Ada, when you turn your tap on and the water comes out of your faucet, it's the first time it's seen daylight. It's the first time that the light has touched that water because it's gravity fed from an aquifer directly to the city of Ada. Like, that's amazing. Think about that. No water purification. It doesn't need it. It does not need anything. The bad pipes. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Ada's old. So a lot of bad pipes. And because of that, I know our water here is hard. It has a lot of minerals in it. So take that for a grain of salt, but it's very unique. And we have a water quality management program here that is very unique and very renowned because it's one of a kind, where because we have the Chickasaw Nation, we have these amazing properties and places that we can easily go and research. There's a reason why the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, set up a facility called the Kerr Research Facility just down the road. There's a reason why that's there. It's there because there's a lot of water research being done in our area. Behind closed doors, there's a lot of research being done in our area about water. water quality, water conservation, water purity. Like that's a huge part of our area. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't, but it affords us some very unique opportunities and partnerships that would never exist. You know, if for like I'm Clayton is coming from the Chickasaw Nation, their esports program, they're coming next week to visit and to just to hang out and see our facilities and chat about esports. Like that's awesome, and I really want that to be a great partnership because he's doing something very unique, very cool. And any way that I can support that, help him, yeah, I'm going to do that. You know, I'm going to do that. Oh, good point. Weather research too is a big one. I don't Here we don't have a whole lot of people doing meteorology type stuff. It's more geology, but yeah, the storm chasers and all them, they're definitely from this area. Definitely from this area. I have literally talked this entire time. OU has the biggest meteorology program. Yeah, probably. Where is the National Weather Service? I think it's in Norman. I'm pretty sure the National Weather Service is in Norman. Yeah, it's in Norman. So the National Weather Service is in Norman. So that would make sense. It makes sense that OU is probably probably where they go. More than likely. Yep. I have not even looked at our weather. What is the weather going to be like for us? I don't even know. I don't even know. Hot and stormy. It looks like we have a cold front coming in, and we're going to have some storms. Storming. I'm going to play a game. You guys can keep asking questions, but I'm going to actually play a game for a minute. It's been a tough day. It's been a rough day. Been an interesting day. Very interesting. Yeah. What are we playing today? We're playing Dark and Darker. So last time we played a game called Dungeon Born. And this time I have a game called Dark and Darker. So I did a bit of research on this situation. So Dark and Darker, the developers of Dark and Darker, they were producing this game. They were developing it. It was an early access. They released an early access game. Okay. Well, what had happened was the people who made Dark and Darker came, all of the employees that came together to make this game all left a game studio called Nexon. So Nexon employees left the company to make this game. However, in their leave, this is evidently, don't know if this is, this is all in courts and all that crap, but evidently, the developers of Dark and Darker had taken with them a lot of code, the basic idea behind the game, and assets, models, and things that were Nexon's property. So Iron Mace Games is the ones that make this game, and IM is usually what they go by. They were the first to try to do this, so they are, I guess, the OGs for this game format, but they got into some legal trouble. And because of that, because their legal troubles, their game was put on hold. Well, somebody had played a demo of the game, loved it, and wanted that on the market. And thus Dungeonborn was created. It was created because they liked the format and wanted to create a different game. What you'll notice with Dark and Darker right off the bat is it's more rigid, feels more robotic. I don't know if that's just going to be something that they iron out. I don't know if it's just the way that they did it. Dark and Darker also has a lot more classes. So when you look at the other game, Dungeonborn, there were 2, 4, 6, 8 total, I believe. There's human, elf, skeleton. There's one more. Maybe it's just those three. But there's a little bit more here. A little bit more. The other thing about Dark and Darker that's is I will give it credit for is the amount of stuff in the game is more than what is in Dungeonborn. The amount of weapons, the amount of items, the amount of skills. I mean, everything is more. When we get into it, you'll kind of see. I'll point out some of the things that I don't like, but yeah. The other thing I mentioned was the support classes in Dark and Darker. You have support classes. You have in Dungeonborn, you have a cleric, but the cleric is not a great healer. This guy's got like the bald head and everything. He's got it going on. Then there's a bard. The bard can do some damage, but is primarily supposed to be a support class. And then the druid can support as well with healing. I paid for the game, so I have some classes to play. I'm going to use just the warlock, I guess. No, I've been really frustrated with the warlock. Use my knight, my fighter. Stew stain. You never want a stew stain, especially on a white shirt. Never a good situation. Brecken, I'm reading your comment. The nation has sort of regressed in that to program. Huh. Which I find weird because young people are doing worse and worse. I guess, let me know what you mean by worse and worse. I think I agree with you, but I just want you to explain that part a little bit. But that's a shame. What do you know what the name of the program is? I don't remember if you told me the name of it. Can't remember. But yeah, you'll see. I mean, it's some of those things happen. Dark and Darker has 3 maps. Dungeonborn has 2. I like the maps, I guess. They're okay. I got stuff on me. Get this stuff away. Please hold. I gotta remember how to send this stuff over. There we go. Okay. No, I probably still want that. Okay. Same situation though. You know, you get gear. Oh, let me move. Well, I think it'll be okay. I was gonna move my face, but I think it'll be okay. Select a region. Is there a US Central? I didn't see US Central. Oh, EU Central. Okay. Select a dungeon. Okay, we're jumping into it. Sorry, it took like an hour and a half to jump into a game. That's a bit long. But that's what happens. You have an interesting day. You know, it's funny. I said I had a rough day. I've talked through all of the things that were bothering me today. So this has been good. It's been helpful. Excuse me. We're just in a lobby. We're just waiting. This is a... you start in a little lobby. There's a little dog over here you can pet. It's good stuff. I appear to be the... oh, no, there's somebody else. I think this one's 15 players as well. It might be 12. But same thing. We drop into a map. I'm going to be somewhere by myself, looting, looking for things. I've already gotten some pretty good equipment, so I'm not really going to be looting a whole lot. I'm going to be opening chests looking for things, but most of my items are already green, so I should be okay. This person's checking out my gear. Ooh, they have a purple potion. Yeah, young people secluded from the... yeah, I remember being a student, and I remember that there was the saying that, like, there's a saying in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I will be the first one to tell you, it is absolutely true. Like, it is 1,000% true. Yeah, 1,000% true. So knowing, but I say that, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to be like, dang it. Because if you don't know someone, you're not going to get the job. You're not going to get the position. You're not going to do anything with it. You have to know the people. So I tell you that telling you that so that you know it, and that you can then plan and be prepared to try to overcome that challenge. And I have gone from one company into a totally different company. That's a good example of that. Like, it's it's actually quite difficult to go from one company as a mid-manager and then go in as another mid-manager or higher, into another company, you usually have to know somebody in that organization who will then vouch for you and get you in. So what do you do? Like, what do you do for that? Well, knowing that you need to develop, you need to get to know somebody who's in that program. So, for example, graduate school. Some of you may want to go to graduate school. The best advice that you can give anybody wanting to go to graduate school is the first thing is find what program or what person you want to study with, which sounds really strange at first. I'm gonna turn my brightness way up. This game is incredibly dark too. Like, it's not you, it is the game. Like, it is the game. That is one thing. This game is very dark, and it is very unforgiving. Very unforgiving. But yeah, you can see I can't see anything. So it's not just you. I cannot see. Let me try to bring him back here. God, it is so dark. Well, if you can't see, neither can I. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just, I'm trying to smack this guy. There we go. Yeah, I say that to not make you feel a certain way, but if you understand that concept, it'll make you much more prepared. So if you want to go to graduate school, say I want to go to get my doctorate, I want to get a PhD. And if you ask any professor this, they're going to tell you a very similar thing. First step is, what do you want to research? Step 2 is, who's researching that? So if I'm in psychology and I'm really into child and adolescent psychology, and that's what I want to go into and research is child and adolescent psychology. Okay, well, now I need to find a professor somewhere in the country who is doing that research, who is coming up with that particular topic. I don't know why I did that. I have no clue why I did that. And also, I have a shield. This shield is called a lantern shield. It has like a lantern built into it. I should be using that. Yeah, so first step, find what you want to study. What is the thing you want to research? Step 2, find somebody who is already researching it or something very close to it. Step 3, you need to engage with that person. And it's probably going to be some random person who's, you know, when I was thinking about going into the PhD program. That's something I was, and I may still do that. That might still happen for me. But that was what I was doing, was I was looking for, oh my God, I did not use swing twice. I was looking for professors and people who were at other universities. I can't swing. I'm in too close of a quarters. This is going very well. I need to get out of here. Yeah, really tight space. Not great for this. Not great for this. That's okay. Have abilities. I should be using them. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so first thing, figure out what you want to study. Second thing, find out who in the field is studying that thing. And then you get to know that person. You're not, before you, and this is crazy, right? Think about like a graduate program. How many applications do you think they get for their program and they've never even met that person? They don't even know anything about that person. They probably get thousands and thousands of applications. And then you always hear like, oh, it came down to like the bottom 3, or we had 1,000 applicants and only took 5. Well, I pretty much guarantee you they took 5 people that they knew, or somebody that was incredibly qualified. So you either have to be exceptional or get to know the people involved. That's the A or B. You have to be exceptional or get to know the people involved, because they will make the decision based on your person, not on your merits. Which sounds really crappy and really sucky, but that's just the way the world works. I'm gonna die. This archer. Okay. Block that one. Yeah, this, again, another game where you have to be very particular. Oh gosh, I did not shut the door. Very particular with how you block. The shield has to hit the thing. What is going on in there? Yeah, the connections breaking. You're talking about the connections. You know, the connections you have are important. That's why it is important. And I've been very big about this in my life. Oh my God, that was close. You never know when you will engage with somebody again. Claudio is a great example. Cool on this stream. You never know when you're going to engage with somebody. Knowing that should not frighten you, but it should open your mind to treat people very well, because you don't ever know when that person will be right next to you again. It could be that, like, I think Claudio in this situation, like, I was a training manager, Claudio was an agent in a call center, like, that was the setup. But I'm still going to treat him with dignity and respect at all times, because I know that there might be a time in life that he shows back up just like he did. But I don't do that on purpose just for that reason. But that's the byproduct of it, is you never know. You never know when someone will come back. So always treat everybody with dignity and respect at all times, and understand that you could be developing a connection with somebody that could be incredibly valuable down the road, that they may not seem significant now, but 5 years from now, they're going to be pretty significant. So keep that in mind. That might happen to you. Literally just resting by a fire. I think I have a question. Hang on. All right. I'm getting a phone, guys. I'm getting a phone. It's going to happen. I'm getting a phone. I love it. It's always so funny. So, like, these are two workers. These are two worker dudes, right? And they're in here, and I'm playing video games. And it feels very strange, but if you walked up to a baseball coach and the baseball coach was playing baseball with their players, you would not say anything. I don't want to fight that thing. Yeah, if you saw the football coach throwing a football around with the players, you'd be like, "Oh, that football player's doing a good job." But for some reason, when I'm gaming, it's like, "Oh, you should be working." This is technically not my work. Okay, leave me alone. I'm still fighting these dang two skeletons. This is sad, y'all. This is so sad. I guess let's just go for it. Oh my god. Yeah, like, so I'm using this huge... There we go. Now they're dead. I love this thing. I don't know how to say it properly. I always call it a bar ditch, which is probably not accurate. But it's great. It does a ton of damage. Super long range. So, like... The other thing I understand with people right now, with me, is... people have been used to... So I was talking about the bureaucracy earlier, right? It's kind of odd that they showed up today to do this when the ticket's been open for over a month and a half. I have asked about it every week since it's been open. I've gone physically in person to ask about it. I've called. I've done I'm like at the point where I should be filing a complaint because I have a need that's not been met for over a month, and that's not acceptable. It's no secret, no surprise that my buddy Howard came down today, who works in IT, and now I'm getting this installed all of a sudden. It's no surprise and no secret. So it goes back to, it's not what you're doing, it's a lot of times who you know and the connections that you make along the way. And I'll tell you, Howard was, when I first got here, he was very skeptical. He was very reluctant, like hesitant with me. But I found out it's because he really cares about the esports program. Like, he really wants it to do well. And it hadn't really been much going on, and so that was I mean, I agree, it was kind of upsetting. Like, it's just not great. But he also was the one who was here setting it up originally years ago, so he's personally invested in the success of this thing. So it totally makes sense why he would want to be involved and why he would get want to do these things. Somebody opened that door. Somebody did. but I can't see them, so they're either a rogue or they just are going to leave me alone, which I hope is the latter. Yeah, but it's no secret. And it doesn't help. I hate to say it this way. It doesn't help that I know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, I know, and I feel for the IT people. Like I feel for them. I understand. Like that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. But when you say nonsense to me, and I know what you're talking about, it doesn't end well. So, yeah, these guys were trying to say something to me, and I was like, nah, that's not how that works. You can run it from this thing. It's fine. So yeah, I understand that part of it too. It is, yeah. Resentment may be the right word, Brecken. That might be the correct word for that. Because what I found is in very bureaucratic organizations, what you end up finding is you end up finding a lot of people who don't do a whole lot of anything. Because people can get away with hiding behind the policies and procedures, they can get away with that. And in a business, in a company, in a corporation, that if I, like when I was a manager and I was working at a call center, if someone messed up, they were gone. They didn't stick around. They didn't get to like continue with what they were doing. They were gone. They got fired. And I promise you, I had to fire a bunch of people. Like it happens. I hated it. It was like I always hate the thing. And this was something that happened. I hate telling people no. Like I hate it. It's necessary, but I hate it. Cannot stand it. Especially if it's like someone that I care about or someone that like I want to see them do well, and I gotta tell them no. I hate that. I'll think about it for a week. I'll think about it for a week. I don't know what's happening in here, but I just stay away from that mess. Stay away from that mess. Oh my goodness, that hurt. Not really been looting. I need to get out of here. That's what needs to happen. I need to get the crap out of here. There should be some on the map. There's some portals down here. Bureaucracy. Would you find with that a lot of times? Yes, it's important. Oh my goodness. Having policies and procedures and things are important, but it can get to a point where that is cumbersome. And when it becomes cumbersome, you have people that are now checkers. They just check a box because you put it there. You put a box there, and now they're just checking it. Instead of using their wits and abilities to make proper decisions that positively impact the business, they are now using a checkbox. And it's your fault because you put all the policies there. But yeah, that ends up happening a lot. Same, yeah, portal out. So what it was, just in case you're curious, they are installing a phone line for me, right? Which requires an Ethernet line, which requires a line to be run, requires a switch, all of that. Okay, fine. I need a 5th Ethernet line. Well, your switch only has 4 spots. That's what they said. They said your switch only has 4 spots. I said no. It needs to be provisioned, but that switchboard has 12 open spots on it because I looked at it. Oh, okay. Well, we'll check it out. That's the kind of thing that, like, I really don't like that. I really don't like that. I don't like it. And I didn't do much commentary on Dark and Darker because I've been on a complaining soapbox today, but we're going to jump back in. No, I need to get some things. I used a lot of stuff. I actually ended up using a lot of potions and things that run. And not a whole lot. Collector. I don't know which one I prefer. Actually, I do. I prefer Dungeonborn. For sure. I prefer Dungeonborn. It's just more fluid. It's not as clunky feeling. This game feels a little clunky at times. Did not end up using that. Yeah, a little clunky, but that's okay. Oh, no, Brecken. What you said, yeah, is probably accurate. Most likely accurate. Well, and he asked me, well, where is your phone? I said, I don't have a phone. Did you ever have a phone? No, this program is brand new. I need a phone. Like, I need a phone and a phone number. Like, it doesn't exist. You're helping me create that. It doesn't exist, guys. Like, all of this stuff, we are making it up, like, as we go. I mean that very seriously. Doesn't exist. So now I'll be back with your phone. Great. That's what I needed. It also doesn't help that, our spaces weren't like, there was no office. There was no office for somebody in our esports space. No office. So you gotta have an office. You gotta have somewhere to go. What if I gotta have a serious conversation with somebody? I gotta be able to go somewhere to do that. So I understand where you are repurposing other spaces. And I said that to Howard. I said, I'm going to make best do with the spaces we have. They're not going to be what they look like today. They're going to be very different than they were a year ago, but they will fit our needs. And that's the important part. And I need you as IT to help me make sure the equipment fits those needs. And to give me some BS about a switch is not how you do that. Yep. Yep. Well, I'm sorry to hear that with the nation. That's it happens everywhere. I mean, it just happens because once a unit gets too large, it no longer is manageable. Unless your culture is rock solid. So Dungeonborn, one of the interesting, I'm going to do more commentary on the game this time, but and we are definitely going to go over 4 o'clock. So if you got to go, I understand. One thing I do like about this game is that the levels, the enemies are set for the levels. So it does become a little repetitive in some aspects. Okay. Audio is very important. There's somebody in this room fighting, but I really don't want to engage. I can hear them. Yeah, the maps are... Oh, God, they're coming for me. They hear me. He broke the door down. Oh, that means he's got a huge freaking weapon. Here we go. Let's crouch. Okay, thank you. See you later. I'll take that. Now, if they actually follow through, I don't know, but we'll see. Oh, I missed. Oh. Sweet. Yeah, it's never good when someone breaks the door down. Like, that's the most terrifying thing. Just bust the door down, runs through. Yeah, I try my best to avoid conflict. Don't mind it. I've learned how to deal with it. Doesn't mean that I seek it. Do not seek that which brings you anxiety. Unless you have to. Yeah, right? Yeah, just bust the door down with one swing. There's Elias and Lane right now, walking by, hanging out. They've been working out quite a bit. It's been good. I've been seeing quite a few students, quite a few of our esports students actually working out, which is great. It's good. Good, good, good. Good to be healthy. I miss the school year, though. I think it's going to be wild once it starts and things are going to go really fast and it's going to get really busy really quickly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having everybody back, seeing everybody on a regular basis. I got poisoned. Sleep and exercise. Yes, yes. One of the funny... it's not funny. It's this person's job. Like, it's their career. But I can't make fun of someone's career. Especially when, it's their thing and they're trying to do it. That's a lie. You can totally make fun of people. Do it all the time. No, just kidding. The company was about, and this has been going on in the traditional sports world for some time. It's about genetic testing for athletes. Oh, I almost walked on that pressure plate. You see how dark it is? You can't even see that, but I saw the corner of that. Genetic testing on athletes to determine if there is a genetic predisposition to a particular sport. Cool. Makes sense. Makes sense. I just don't think esports is ready for that type of application, and nor do I think sports is really a good place for that. You know, when you get into like genetic testing for performance, uh, I don't know why I feel kind of skittish about that. Just because, isn't that part of the whole point of equal access and equal opportunities and being fair and balanced, is trying to not use things like that? I don't know. I just feel weird about that. Like, oh, sorry, your gene makeup doesn't match a first-person shooter player, so you're not going to be on the team. Effort and intention go a lot farther than anything that you could have. Effort and intention go way farther than anything you could have. I always say that to my bosses. I always say, you know what? I may not do it right. I may mess it up a whole lot. I may make a big headache for you. But one thing you will always get from me, no matter what the situation is, no matter what you ask me to do, you will always get 100% effort in whatever it is. It may not work out, but know that I have given it my all, whatever that is. Okay. This is a big central room, so there's a person. There's a person. I knew you're a person. How did I know you're a person? I don't want to fight you, but I will. Okay. All right. All right. What? Huh? You guys are hanging out? What? What are these guys doing? Okay, I guess they're just hanging out. Oh, they added the purple potion into the drop now. Nice. What? You want to fight me now? Now you want to fight me? How rude. That was rude. That was rude. Yeah, they were just waiting. Just waiting. Missed school for the first time. I'm hearing that a lot lately, is people are really excited to be back. But again, that has more to do with it, like the community of what we're building and like what you guys are part of. It has more to do with that than, well, that was lame. They should kill it. That, you know, it's all good. People are funny. Well, that took us right to 357. I talked a lot, so I'll play one more. I'll do one more. One thing I did find about this game that I do like is, and I didn't know this at first, I don't know if you have to unlock this. I don't know how that works, but you can set the gear that you start with, which is pretty cool. So I really like the two-handed longsword, for example, so I can start the game with that rather than having to go find it. You can set the particular boots you get. Take the heavy boots. Take a camping kit. I don't know why I would take a flute. That does not seem like an appropriate thing for... I like the mace. I like the heater shield. So you can set your base gear and equip your base gear, which I like that concept. I think that's pretty cool to do. So I can set exactly how I want even my hot bars to be before I start the game. I like that. The other thing, I don't know if I like this or not, but the way that this game is set up is like, if your gear score is of a certain level, then you're paired with people who are of that certain threshold or above, and the threshold for it is pretty low. So you don't have to have a lot of stuff on you to be put into the geared tier. And that's what it is. It's ungeared and geared. You either have equipment or you don't. If you have equipment, you're with everyone else, and the gear scores are wild. Like, they go from nothing up to 100 points. So you could be really low gear score paired up with people that are very high gear score. This is a druid. See that? I love the druid because they can transform into a little mouse. It's my favorite class to play. It is the most fun class to play, but it's tough to play. No, I agree. Dark and Darker feels more complete. It feels more like a whole game. Dungeonborn, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how they do. We will see how they do. I'm interested. I'm interested to see. I've not seen much of Dark and Darker's, like what their plans are about the future, like what they're going to add. Dungeonborn has been pretty clear. They've been releasing like, here's the stuff we're working on. So there's been definitely a difference in the communication too between the two units. So we shall see. But now I'm starting over, so I don't have anything. Got a helmet. Nice. And that's kind of why it sucks to die in this game. Like, you end up getting so much stuff and you start spending time. You know, I probably won't. There's a good chance. Uh-oh. Pretty good chance I don't see anybody this round. Look at this. Poke them in the eye. Kill those skeletons. Yeah. I think it's interesting, this game, too, how it handles magic. It's based on memory. So, like, your character can remember a certain amount of spells. And then once you're out, you have to rest to remember more spells. Or to regain the memory of those spells. I don't know. That's the best way to explain it. But there isn't really mana. It's more about... I don't understand how that... How does that work? You poke them and then twist it? Like, I don't understand how that second attack is working. It's like an over the hand thing. I don't know. That's weird. I mean, let's see if we do it again. Hit him once. Nope. It's like I can't hit that second hit. It's probably closer, deceptively close. You have to be a little bit closer. Yeah, you're right too. There is mana. Yeah, I forgot about that. You have mana and you have the memory of the spells. And then for some reason, the Warlock doesn't use either of those. Like, the Warlock doesn't use memory and it doesn't use mana. It uses health and like their blood, but it's weird. But then again, like that, like Dungeonborn, most of everything is pretty consistent. It makes sense. Whereas this game has some pretty odd things that don't really make sense. It's a terrible engagement. Slurp the potion. This game, playing the rogue in this game, way better than playing the rogue in Dungeonborn. Just because there's more skills, abilities, tactics, things you can do. Dungeonborn just has a ways to go. I don't usually pick things up that are green unless I can use them. Lots of looting. Somebody asked about Tarkov. I've been looking into Tarkov, Return to Tarkov, so I might try that one. So be on the lookout for that. See, that was good. I got all 3 hits. Escape from Tarkov. Boots. I'm being quiet because I'm listening. That's a lot of hours on Tarkov. Don't know if I have that kind of time. I ain't got time for that. I got a new sword. I don't think I've ever used this one before. Uh-oh. This particular area has a lot of small little rooms like this. It's kind of annoying. Oh, man. It's a sweeping move. It's slow as all get out, too. Sheesh Louise. Yep. It's guns. Yeah, I don't know anything about Return to Tarkov. I know nothing about it. at all. Not really using my shield at all. Just using this two-hander. Ow. What is that? Oh. Dang bug. Why is this thing so strong? A death beetle? It was called a death beetle. Beetle a la death. So I did this earlier and I didn't even explain what it was. In this game, you have to rest. And love it or hate it, it's just a mechanic, but I'm building a campfire and sitting to regenerate my health. You can imagine, like, this is really dumb and really risky, and someone can run up on me right now and kill me in like one hit. Because I'll show you, when you have to stand up, you're stuck in an animation. So watch, when I stand up, I'm stuck in this animation for a long time. Then I have to re-equip my weapon. So it's incredibly risky, but it's the cheapest way of, or not cheapest, it's the best way to regenerate your health. I don't know why I'm taking these lanterns. I don't need them. I don't want them. Something else I'm not doing is I'm not breaking any of the boxes. That's another thing that you're supposed to do. Golly. Kablooey, hit him with the hammer. Yeah, I'm not looting any. Which, the boxes are good. They usually drop pretty good stuff. And the barrels. If you do play this game at all, definitely do that. Don't do what I'm doing. Get the boxes. They just make a ton of noise. So if you're... The reason I'm doing it now is if you look at the map on the bottom right, I am pretty far... Like, I'm on an edge. I'm on a border. I'm not in the middle of the map like I was before. The reason I got ambushed... I didn't really get ambushed. Those two dudes. That was funny, but... that's in the middle of the map. So everybody runs to the middle of the map because they want to find people to kill. There's a dude. Oh, there you are. I don't use my abilities a whole lot. With this class, I don't end up using abilities a whole lot. Just don't. It's... Which I should. They're good. And it's... The abilities in this game, some of them... They should do a lot more, but they don't. They don't do a whole lot. Here is... Let's just do this as an example. I am running right now. Okay? I'm going to turn around and do what they call sprinting. That's sprinting. And it slows down until now I'm back at the regular speed. So it doesn't last all that long, and it's really not that effective. But a little bit makes a big difference. I'm trying to see if I can... Yay. See, I couldn't even see his corpse. Good stuff. This will be the last after this round. I will drop off here. Any final questions? Make sure you guys let me know. Put them in chat so I can answer them now. This is a way out right here. I like how Dungeonborn handles the getting out situation too. I think in this game they're static. It's static, which means they don't move. So like this right here, this is a way out, but it won't open. What's that noise? Yeah, it won't open for a certain period of time. See, and that's so... Oh, big weapons are annoying, because, yeah, see, like, I hit that lantern, stopped my attack. Yeah, the hitboxing. I do enjoy the hitboxing with these games. I think... Did that already open? Oh, yep. Okay. Man, that did not... That went quick. So now the map is basically falling apart, and you got to get out. That's what's happening. That's why you hear that booming. Which you hear again now. If you didn't hear it, it'll come again here in a second. But I might as well check this area. Make sure I get everything. Other tip about this game, I definitely look around. I mean, a lot of stuff is just left lying around. A lot of stuff. I mean, we're talking potions, gold, items. And so if you just look around sometimes, you'll find a lot of stuff. Yeah, see, yeah, Brecken, check with that. See if you can. And let them know. It is the Chickasaw Nation STEM Academy is coming to campus to tour our facilities and to, you know, check in on our esports program. So it is a good thing, and it's supposed to be for us to develop that relationship. You know, I obviously don't have to be here, but I would love for you to. Same thing too is like when we go to high schools. When I go to high schools, I will post like, "Hey, I'm going to be at this high school. Does anybody want to go?" Especially if that is your high school or where you went to school, you should go. You should go and see your school, and you help me recruit. There you go. That's a great way to help me recruit. Is come with me to recruiting events. If you can, go with me because it's fun. The other hidden piece of that is a sales pitch always sounds better from somebody who is currently using the product than the person who's selling it, you know? That's awesome. Josh Carlin is the Bing esports coach. He is... I have a very select few of favorites, and which that sounds really crappy, but I'm just very particular. But Josh Carlin, he's my dude. I really like that guy. He has been a huge asset to us. He's been great. Like... He shows up. He helps plan events. He wants to be involved. Like, yeah, Bing's been great. Can't wait to see what Bing does this year and how they do. Bing actually was one that brought their Overwatch team up here, so we may reach out to Bing and see if they're going to do League of Legends this semester and offer that type of partnership. This person's taking the rope out. Well, there you go. Sorry, that was a lot of talking today, but a little bit of gameplay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. Who's still here? That was a lot of couple people. Sweet. Awesome. Well, then I will wish you guys a great rest of your day. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, if they, I'll reach out. I'll talk to Josh, Coach Josh. I told them I'd reach out probably I told the coaches I'd reach out at the end of August or early September to start, you know, figuring out if they want to do anything, if they want to come on campus. I know one school already reached out to me, and they're going to bring they're going to bring a bunch of people, like a lot of their school, and treat it as like a college day. And then we're going to do like an esport thing for them. So that'll be, we will definitely do that. And I know I was asked recently to host the cross country team. So I will be hosting the cross country team just for a fun, and that's what I told them. I was like, guys, like this, just utilize this as a fun team building activity. Like it should be a very fun thing. It shouldn't be like, they should come to the esports program, have fun. You guys have a good time and leave. Like that's what it should be. So I'll host, I think he said 3 different groups or 3 different teams within our cross country now. And cross country is another program just starting, just building, doing really well. Right. So we can make it. We can do it. Well, all right. You guys have a great day. Thanks for being here. Appreciate y'all. And we will be back on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 13th at 2:00. And then we will have our special guest on the 15th. So I'll look forward to it. Y'all have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, my daughter did say to work on my like sign off thing. So I don't know what that's supposed to be, but bye.